Yeah, I think I'm a little bit excited to start work. I get like a whole actual summer break, so I think I can like fully de-stress now instead of like my previous years of where it's COVID or I'm stuck in the hospital.
Yeah. That's a real toughie. Yeah, I remember like you came over to visit Bay Area when I was this last summer.
Yeah.
And like one of the first things you said was like my lung collapsed or something. It's
such a conversation starter.
It is a conversation starter.
Please, for
Do you want to like tell the whole story of like your bodily complications? What's happened?
Wait, sorry, bodily complications?
I don't know. You've had like the lung collapse. You've had other
It's
things.
been like a long.
Yeah. How did this start? And like, if you don't mind, like share.
I'll share a little bit. I'll give you like the brass tacks or
The brass tacks.
Not the brass tacks.
Okay.
It's Spark Notes.
Spark Notes.
Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes.
Whichever one you use in high school and middle school.
Yeah.
So
they
it's
use ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
The ChatGPT. Okay, go ahead.
So like a year and a half ago, I'm like at the gym, you know, trying to get those gains. And I try to do like a pull up or like also just benching, right? But then I would have tightness in like my left arm. So I just thought, oh, it's like tendonitis, right? Cause like, I guess I just, you know, I went too hard or something. Or it's just, I somehow tweaked it. So I just stopped lifting for a while and like wait a couple months cause I check it takes like months to like heal, like a month or two to heal. Weeks to months. Then this is like fall 2021, I think. We go into spring 2022. My arm still hasn't really healed, so I can't still like do pull-ups or anything. But then it gets worse, cause like it slowly progresses to where like my left hand, like around the wrist, if I tweak it in a certain way, it's like a sharp shooting pain throughout my hand. And then that progresses to where I can't close my left hand at all, like fully, so I can't make a fist. And then that progresses to my right hand, and then like whenever I would sit for too long, like my knees like get sore and I like crack when I would stand up.
Oh shit.
So like also then like intermittently like my neck would hurt or like my shoulders would hurt.
So if I could ask, if you couldn't really like close your hands, how would you like grip pens or pencils or anything like that? Or you did it?
I could. It's like you don't need like your hand to be like a complete fist to grip it. But like after a while, it would just like start hurting if I was writing for too long.
Did it hurt when you were like typing stuff?
Yeah, it hurts if I like type for too long, right? Okay. So like that turned out to I just have inflammatory arthritis, which is a weird thing.
Oh shit.
I learned that like last week, but I didn't know at the time, right? So I go to like the UHS and I tell them this stuff like, we can't really help with that. So I just so it's like
classic UHS.
Yeah. Like I like beyond my pay grade. They were great. They tried to, but they're like, yeah, you take these referrals and maybe go somewhere else. And then I didn't do that because I was busy with OS. So I fly back home, and I still have a lot of work to do because I waited to the last minute. So it's the day before grades are like due, and I'm like, okay, I have a doctor's appointment. I should tell them that I've been in this pain, right? So it's like, oh, so where's your pain? Like my shoulder, right? And like my neck currently from when I sleep, right? It wakes up and I'm kind of sore.
Yeah.
So I get an x-ray done of that. So I go home, I start to take a quick little nap, like do some homework. And then my mom comes up like, Kachi, you gotta go back to the hospital. I'm like, huh? It's like, they say you have a pneumothorax, possibly. And I'm like, what's a pneumothorax? She plays a recording like, yeah, so you have a pneumothorax. That means there's air in your lung. And I'm like,
there's air in my lungs.
Yeah, that's where it's supposed to be, right? Instant thought. I search it up on my way to my car and it's like, oh, a collapsed lung. That could be pretty bad. So I go drive back to my doctor's office and they're like, oh, hey, you're Kachi. I'm like, yeah. You have any shortness of breath or anything? No. You feel good? I'm like, yeah, no, I feel kind of fine. Like, okay, we're going to take a chest x-ray now. Because they saw, they took a shoulder x-ray and neck right prior. So I take the chest x-ray and then I go sit down and wait for my doctor. She asked me the same thing, like, hey, how are you feeling? Any shortness of breath? No. Like, yeah, the radiologist just thought that they saw like a little bit of your lung might have been collapsed. But it's most likely nothing if you're feeling fine. Then the radiologist sends her results and she just says, oh, your lung really is collapsed. And then she adds the words moderately to severely. So she shows me the picture of my lung. And like my left lung, doing great, phenomenal. All the way in, right? All the way to like the wall, right? Because there's an outer wall and an inner wall. and the inner wall should be free flowing, so like so you can actually like breathe. If you look at my right lung, it's the outer wall, and then the inner wall is just crumpled towards the center. And she's like, "Are you sure you don't have any shortness of breath?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure." Like, okay, well, I could technically let you go home, but we should most likely get this fixed. So I tell my mom the news, and then I drive over to. No, she comes and picks me up and drives me over to like the emergency room. So I wait there for like somewhere in like the realm of like 4 to 6 hours, just trying to get in. Because they needed like the CT's machine, and I'm just watching like Cartoon Network. I got like an IV put in and all that, and I'm just like waiting in the room. And every so often, like a nurse would come in and ask, like, "Hey, shortness of breath?" No, and it's like the same thing, right? And then like the guy one of the people who's like working, who's gonna inflate my lung or help inflate my lung, comes in and says like, "Yeah. So we're going to do this procedure. We're going to give you a chest tube. So we're going to put a hole in your chest and put a tube in, and we're going to use it to suck out the excess air so your lung will inflate itself, right?" I'm like, when have you eaten last? Like, I don't know, around like 2. Like, yeah, you might emesis, which is just like throw up. If we put you in, put you under. So we're just going to put local anesthetic.
What?
When we insert the chest tube, I'm like, "Oh, so I'm going to be awake?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I get my ass wheeled over to the CT room, and they're like, "Okay, you're going to feel some pressure." And they like pierce my wall with a big needle. I didn't see any of this because I'm like looking away. I just feel they put like the lidocaine, and they like pierce my wall, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable because they're like pushing in, and you're like really getting in there. So they do that. And then they start pulling air out of my lung. And that's the first time I felt like I couldn't breathe. It's like, because I feel like it's sucking in from my air, from my mouth, even though I'm like trying to just breathe normally. So yeah, so that lasted only like 10 minutes, but it felt like forever. Wow. Then they like bandaged me up. They connected me to like a little bubbler that like, it's like an airlock, so it prevents air from going back in after they've sucked it out. And then like I'm wheeled to like the room that I'm going to be staying in, and they like hook me up to the wall so they can like just pull constant vacuum. And I was there for like 8 days. Yeah, I would get like my blood drawn twice a day, X-ray like every morning. Every couple of days they would like up my pressure that they're taking, they're pulling on my lung so it can like try to inflate. It was weird because whenever I'd need to go to the bathroom, they would like unplug me from the wall, and I can feel like my lung collapse a little bit back in on itself. Yeah. I had a neighbor one day. He just would be like, he's an old, pretty much senile man. He's like, "Hey, let me out!" Screaming into like the early morning hours. So it's like 2 a.m. and he's still fucking hollering. I'm like, "Please close my door," or something. I couldn't sleep because I'm like sleeping on my back, propped up, and I just had to hear, "Hey, let me out!" And I'm like, "Why is this guy not shutting up?" And I'm like, "Can you do something about it?" I'm like, "There's just nothing we can do." And he would always leave my door just slightly cracked to make sure I wasn't dead or something. And so I just have to hear this coming from the hallway. Yeah, that was a little fun day. I got another CT scan. They realized my lung hadn't fully inflated, so they're like, "Okay, we can do like another procedure." So a couple days later, I get that other procedure done, and that one was wild because the day prior, one of the procedure aides comes in, the CT aides, cardiothoracic aides comes in, and he's like, "Yeah, so we talked about the surgery. You've heard about the surgery we're trying to do, right?" And he like sits down, like spreads his legs as wide as possible, and he's like, "Ugh." And I'm like, he just like settles into my room. I was like, "Yeah, so you know what's going on? Your lung hasn't fully expanded, so we want to do this procedure." And he like walks over to like my little bubbler setup, right? And he just starts fucking with it. He's like unplugging me from the wall. And I'm like, he should not be touching that. And he's like, "Yeah, you're already at max pressure," tapping on like the top of the bubbler thing. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm at max pressure." And like, yeah, so unless you say otherwise, we're going to most likely proceed to go with the surgery. And then he leaves. But before that, he reduces my pressure all the way down. My nurse comes back in, and she's like, "Did you mess with the pressure here?" And like, no, the CTA that came in and he just started fucking with it. And he's like, she's not supposed to do that. And then like marches out.
But doesn't fix it.
No, I think she fixed it. Or just like let it be. But yeah, so then I go into the operating room like a day or two later. I forget when. I'm wheeled out at like 10 a.m. I have to do like a weird little cleaning thing. But then I'm like in the med surge area where I'm just like sitting. They put like a little blanket and they just pump warm air into it. Right? And I'm there for like an hour maybe, and before I'm like moved to the operating room, I like shift myself onto the table. And then the anesthesiologist comes in and he's like, okay, we're going to give you a little something to calm you down. And I'm thinking, okay, a little something to calm me down. And I'm out. I'm out. And then I just wake up in the place that I was. My throat hurts because they put a breathing tube in. And like, I have just more things on my arm. And I'm like, what the fuck happened?
I thought they were going to make you high.
Right? Like the tube that was popping out of my chest here is like now gone. And there's like just a tube coming out this like bottom side of my body here. And I'm just like slightly in pain. And like after like 5 to 10 minutes, like someone comes over and is like, oh, you're awake. And they wheel me back to my room. So I go back and I'm like coughing a bit because it just hurts. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm still like kind of high under the drugs. And they prop me up and I'm like, Katya, how are you doing? Good? Like, are you good? I'm like, mm-hmm. Like, can you respond? Like, yeah. And this time I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I was just in more pain because they did surgery. And that was just so weird. So yeah, I was there for a couple more days. What was it?
This is all during the summer.
This is like all during the summer. Like, just
is this before you came to the Bay or after?
Oh yeah, way before.
Oh, it was all before. Okay.
Yeah, it was. So
by the time you came,
we flew back to school. We flew back from school like finals weekend.
Yeah.
Then I graded that week, and then the week after that, I was in the hospital, and then that was the beginning of my internship, which I missed flying out because I was in the hospital. So I had to delay my internship start date, but I still couldn't fly out because I just had my lung like pumped up again. Yeah. So I had this like larger chest tube that ran down this like my back, and that was uncomfortable because like I would lie on it and then I could feel it like compress within my body. So it's just like it's like pushing up on like stuff inside, and it's that was terrible. And I couldn't like lie on my side or I risked like yanking it out. And then on like the last day of my chest tube, one of the aide comes in like, okay, yeah, your lung is like pretty much fully inflated.
Yay.
Like as inflated as it's going to get, right? Like, okay, so we're gonna remove the chest tube. So can you go lie on your side on the bed? I'm like, wait, you're gonna pull it out while I'm awake? Like while I'm awake? And I'm like, yeah. She's just like, yeah, but it's okay. It's gonna be really quick. And then I go lie on my side. She yanks. Oh my god! Holy fucking shit! The feeling of like a tube running down your inside while she ties it. Oh my god! The sound, everything was just so loud. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Did it hurt?
Yeah! It was just so uncomfortable. And then like I don't know, I was like sent home a couple days later, and then like it would just hurt because like I have stitches in like 3 different places, so I can't like contort my body well. Yeah.
Still a scar?
Oh yeah, I got 3. So 1 in my armpit, 1 down here, and then I have like a little bump here, and I think 1 here.
Metal.
Yeah.